ready for a Tommy Turbo Masterclass. Tameless Tuesday is here. And the boys are hard as a rock. Don't be a weak-gutted dog. Leave that for Jamin Salmon. Get ready for the best SuperCoach show on the planet. It's so good, it's better than Lego. You're now listening to the SuperCoach Experience Podcast. Here's your host, Brandon Savage.
Hello and welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Jamin Salmons. We're wrapped up from Magic Round and we're here today to preview Round 11. But first, I need to introduce my panel. With me, the Vili Army coming off the bench for Magic Round. How was your weekend? How was the Magic Round?
Absolute blinder, man. It was probably one of the best weekends of my life. So anyone who hasn't been to Magic Round, put it in your diary now. Make sure you do it. So I'm really looking forward to next year. You're going to be making your debut. Mike will be making his. I'm going to present you some jerseys. It's going to be a pretty big speech, and I'll be really proud to see you run out for the first time.
I think every year when Magic Round gets closer and closer, I'm always really anxious about not going. And then it gets to the weekend and I'm like, Jesus, I wish I just bit the bullet and went. But
it was wild.
It's like a festival for footy. What could be better? It's like the best boys weekend ever. And I swear to God, I'll never miss out again. But here, for the first time in studio this year, our beloved Penrith fan, the OG, Mikey, the coach of Trip Jacket Mafia. How are you, Mikey?
Yeah, good, boys. It's good to finally get on. I was pushing it today. I was almost late scratching again, but recovered from my injury and I'm back. So, good to be back. Great round of footy. I feel like most of us had a pretty decent round and all of us at the SuperCoach Experience are flying. So, I think it's good times for all of us. So, back to your Magic Round thing. Yeah, I like Sabs. I couldn't go this year mainly because I'm going away soon. But I'm going next year for sure. It looked absolutely amazing. Very jealous.
Said all of us every single year.
100% going next year.
We're going in next year, 100%. We're live from Picklebet headquarters right here, as you can see. So if you're listening on the audio, head over to the YouTube, head over to the Facebook, check it out because it's real good stuff. We're going to go in first. Our overall leader for the SuperCoach Experience overall group is Blue Redder still. Tessa, the girls. She's coming 8th.
That's excellent.
That's really good. In a good position. Reach out, Tessa. We'll have a little chat, see where you're at with your trades and try and pick your brain a bit. But for the hot topics, our first hot topic of the day is Origin players. Which ones do we sell?
It's a tough one. I've started off loading a few already. I sold Tino reluctantly last week and he scored his second best score for the year, which was annoying because I held on to Welsh, who's another guy I want to get rid of who's an Origin player, but I only wanted to make the one trade. It would have pushed me over 1,400 for the week had I not done. There were so many different ways I could have got that extra 20 points. I ended up scoring 1,386 or something, so it was a blinder for me. But there's plenty of guys that I think are more likely we hold. For me, it's going to be Nathan Cleary and Hines. Just too hard to get back at the price, I reckon.
There's a lot of for and against for a lot of these players, but Mikey, holding and selling these Origin players, who sits at the top of your list?
It's a hard one to navigate, but I think you've got to group it and work out, all right, how many do I have that are going to play Origin? How many can I hold? And how many of them are in my team that potentially might get selected or might not? Example, Reece Walsh. It's hard to navigate. I've currently got 4. Like Timmy, I've started to look at it. Last week, I sold Valentine Holmes. As you know, I'm pretty confident he'll get selected. So started to really push through them. But like Timmy, I know we've got to think about round 14. You've got to think about players getting rested. But I couldn't sell Hines and Cleary. Like last week, I couldn't believe the amount of people that were selling Cleary to Moses. That trade absolutely baffled me. I cannot believe it. And look what happened. So
I guess after a big 147, it looks really attractive. Cleary weren't sure whether he was having the kicking, but it's... You
can't sell those two. And with your front rows, it just kind of depends. Like, if you're going to sell them, who are you going to sell them for? And when and how are you going to bring them back? So, realistically, me and Timmy were talking about it earlier, the only one that I kind of float with is maybe Harry Grant, maybe. But realistically, I plan on holding on to my 4 Origin stars. I think if Reece Walsh gets named in Origin, I'll probably get rid of him. It's the only one.
Well, we're going to dissect it today just because I feel like we have to sell some of them. And a lot of people are going to be wondering, which ones can I sell? I feel like I have these premium guys here in front of me, and we're going to talk about them and see what world you can get these guys in and you can offload them. I'm going to start with Payne Haas first up. I did own Payne Haas a few weeks. It's good. Yeah, that's shit. Payne Haas.
Oh, Payne Haas.
721,000 with 104 break even. Doesn't play round 13, 16, and 19 with a chance to miss round 14 and 17. So that's missing 3 of the next 9 rounds and a potential 5 of the next 9 rounds. Them 2 games being limited minutes. What are your thoughts?
I reckon he's probably a sell. I don't have him. I'd like to see a lot of people sell him because he annoys me watching him go around. But I think you've been keen on moving him on for the back end. You've sort of identified that Payne Haas kills it at the start and towards the mid-end of the season, and then it sort of drops off for him a bit. So because he's a forward as well, I think you can kind of get a like-for-like sort of guy. Yeah, he's that much, a little bit better than the rest, but by 10 points on average, it's not that much.
I sold him to Tarpanay last week, and Tarpanay actually scored more than him this week, so I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Mikey, you're a Haas owner. I know usually we don't like to spend trades in the front row area, and that's just another wasted trade. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no chance. Not doing it. Holding him. He's going to play those games, miss those games, but he usually backs up after Origin, even in those games with how well the Broncos are doing. Yeah, that probably got him an early rest last week, but they're going to be some of these closer games coming up. Example, he plays Penrith next week. He's going to need to play these higher minutes, and his PPM is just so elite. You're definitely going to want to finish him with him in the front row. So if I can make it work, get good buy numbers, and still have coverage later, then I'm going to try and make it work and hold him. If I didn't have Tapane, then yeah, maybe. But at the moment, there's not really any other front rows I want. I'm bringing in another one this week, which we'll get to in trades. But I guess the plan is if you're not...
2 weeks ago he was out through suspension, and you could see how much they missed him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that might have been a bit of a idea for them to go, all right, we'll get him back.
Yeah, that's for sure. With Haas, I just feel like you actually look at his scores and you look back at it. At the time, it stings not owning him, but you look back, them scores actually aren't hurting you that badly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my guys, they had for me because, I had Tino for a while. Well, I got rid of him last week, which, scored the 82, but that was a big score for him. He scored 111 when he crossed earlier in the year, but there was a lot of 50s in that.
Yeah.
There was a 40 with suspension and stuff. So, yeah, look, it's a bit annoying, but yeah, I really think that Payne Haas is probably a team-dependent one, depending on how much other forwards you got. I've got no forwards for Origin, so if I did have him, I'd probably have to move him on.
Speaking about that, you got Horse last week.
I got
You're
the
very
Horse
happy.
Last year,
You happy?
Yeah, last week. Yeah, I was really happy. I didn't get to cheer him on because I was on a plane during those ones up to the game. But yeah, look, I'm happy with what I saw. You misled me though. You told me he scored a bloody try assist, but it was just because he bloody. You were just teasing.
that was actually Hads. He was like that. Put that down to Horse, and I looked back at the exact same play, expecting the same thing you did. I was like, how good? It's 2 minutes in. But he made a barnstorming run.
20-metre run or something like that.
Yeah, it was very good. Mikey, Tom Trebojevic, he is 588,000 with a 62 break-even. Scored 82 last week, which, I mean, for considering he looked terrible, that's a good score. With after the next 2 weeks, only plays 3 out of 7 games with resting potential. So, as much as I hate to say it, I think Turbo's a sell.
I think Turbo was a sell a couple of weeks ago when I sold him. Now, if you have him now, I don't think he is a sell because there's a good chance with his fitness that maybe he doesn't get picked, which for Origin, which I know might sound crazy, but there is a chance where they choose Latrell and they choose Campbell Graham. So if for some reason he's available for round 13, why wouldn't you want to have him? I think it'd be a waste. I think I would kind of hold on route to that 13, and if he gets named, then move him on. But the fact that there's a chance he might play, similar with the Walsh play, I think you want to try and hold on because watching NRL last week, you're thinking to yourself, how the hell did he score that high?
There's a lot of people complaining about it too.
Exactly. So if that game comes around where he actually, gets back to kind of where he was, you've got that big score that you've finally been waiting on. But,
Nice try assist to Selwyn Cobbo in that one, I hear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Selwyn Cobbo one. He actually got a try assist to Ben Trebojevic, and good God, Ben Trebojevic in the centres looks way more elusive than Brad Parker does. I think he adds a lot more in attack, and I hope they make that change eventually. Schuster, actually, we'll talk about Schuster very shortly, but yeah, I don't think Turbo is an actual sell till at least round 13, and then you see what his Origin availability is. Yeah. If he doesn't play Origin, then this conversation's just obsolete. He's probably a buy in round 13, just depending, because he's not playing well, but he's still scoring well enough, and is still matching the people who are good enough. Tedesco, 586,000. Did I convince you to captain him on the weekend?
You did. You had the vibe. It started bucketing down, and everyone was like, what's going on here? It's raining. We weren't expecting this. No one expected to rain and start bucketing down. I'm trying to change it real quick. My first thing, I was going to change it to Manu. Thought he'll be a little bit better in the wet. And then I was like, oh, hold on. I'll just change it to Dillbags. It might be a bit dry by then. Either one of them would have been great. That's another thing that could have pushed me over to 1,400, but what could have been, should have been, all that. Yeah, look, you did. But I'm not too phased by it. I had a good week without it. He's going to be one that I do sell. I'm going to try to hold him up until that round 12 game against the Dragons, and then move him on for that round 13 bye.
I think you definitely got to sell Tedesco. He's not putting up the numbers that exactly warrants holding through.
You want
the
a fullback
period.
too. You want as many fullbacks you can get over that period.
I think the fullback rotation is really needed during this period. But Mikey, how are you seeing Tedesco, and is he tempting at all for you to buy?
Not one bit. I'm very happy that, when everyone's jumping on, I thought of him a little bit when you guys are grabbing him, going, okay, I'm probably going to need to grab him. But then we're just waiting for him to, do what he normally does, and he hasn't. And the Roosters have looked off, and until the Roosters look good, I think there's other options. I was, Gutho come along and it goes, I know it's a lot more money you're spending on Gutho, but I'm trying to look at buy time, and he's going to get picked there where, with his current form, I believe he shouldn't get picked for Origin, but he is going to get picked for Origin. He's the captain. So, 586, a bit of an awkward price. I'd definitely look at offloading him if you can for the buys. But, plays Penrith this week, which relatively doesn't really score that well against. But it's a bit of a tough position. It depends. If you brought him in recently, I'd want to probably hold him for a little bit more.
I'm definitely holding him up until round 13 and then reassessing. He plays all 4 games. So the Roosters have a bye in round 13 and 15 and then don't have a bye again. So he plays all 4 games in between. I think he's a good chance of backing up considering how the Roosters have gone.
Yeah, they're going terrible.
If they do not play on the Thursdays and Fridays, that is. But I don't know. I think he can hold him, but he does play Penrith twice in the next 4 weeks. So I think that's...
There's a few options I'm interested in. I don't mind the idea of Gutho if I can afford that. If not... Drinkwater, it's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Also, Lockie Miller, who I was just talking to Mikey about before we went live, could stick him down at fullback for a little bit, then put him back to the centre wings and decide who I want as my fullback for the run home, which is the way I think I'm going to go.
And I think don't be afraid to do that sort of stuff, because if you're putting players like that in fullback, they're scoring just as well as these Teddies and Turbos, just because they're not doing well at the moment.
Centre wings are killing it.
These halves, Cleary and Hines. So we'll start off with Cleary. He plays all 4 games again. Same as Tedesco. 843,000. The draw is irrelevant for Cleary, in my opinion.
I'm just going to hold them and hope that at least one of them gives me coverage over those periods outside of the Origin games. I just feel like if I do sell them to someone, I don't know who that would like. It maybe be Moses, but then I'd be carrying too many para guys, so I'm not going to do that. So for me, they're just holds.
Mikey, as a Penrith fan, Cleary?
I won't sell him unless he's injured. But you've got to be expected that he'll get rested for sure. It doesn't matter, 100%. I reckon for sure they'll rest him 14. Look, they're not going to go too much away from their game plan they used last year, and they don't have O'Sullivan anymore. But they picked up Jack Cogger, who's constantly getting named in the 18th and 19th jersey. He's going to come in and he'll probably play for him. And I don't think they're going to change it. Yeah, this year they don't have as many wins up their sleeve, but if they can manage to go into the buys, beating the Roosters and the Broncos, then I reckon there's a good chance come round 14, fresh off the bye, that they will.
They're going to be tough matchups, though. As much as I like to say that, Penrith are,
but if
I reckon
they
they're
do,
the form team to beat, even though they've lost a few.
But if they do win them, I think for sure you're going to see 100% arresting, and you're going to have to prepare for that in a way that if Hines does play Origin, will the same happen to Hines? Maybe, maybe not, but you've got to kind of have a plan there because it could leave you a bit stuck for 14. But it's too hard to sell these guys because of the scores they can hit. How are you going to get them back?
With Hines, on the weekend, the most captain player by far, 90% in the top 1% of coaches, and it was pretty much the same throughout the board. 41. I mean, I was pretty happy with it. I was loving life. Yeah. I saw that it was 30-0 down. I was a bit worried they'd come back.
We only got an extra 21 points out of our captain, but
we got something. We got something. He didn't go big, but if he gets picked for Origin, he will only play 3 games in between round 13 and 20, and that's without resting. So there's a potential that he plays 1 game.
And they're going good enough too, I reckon, that they could do it.
Exactly. So if they win 2-3 games leading up to Origin and he gets picked, 950,000, you can really, I don't know, Moses is the guy, but there's going to be a guy.
The problem is when you do sell someone like Hines at that price, you say, I'll get him back, but then you use that money in between the time you're going to get him back on other players that you're going to get, and then it becomes very, very hard to do.
That's it, especially late in the season. Mikey, could you get around selling Hines hearing that?
No, I can't. But what would make me think about it is a week where I look at my halves and Cleary and Hines have both been rested. Then I'm going to have to think, okay, am I able to cop this? Like, how bad is it going to be? It's a thought to think about, but it'd be nice to just not use those trades, just like saving trades from week to week. Sometimes not saying if you get rid of Hines, you've got to bring him back in. Yeah. So that's potentially saving one if there's another route around it. So it's tough.
Even saving 2 because you're selling him and then going to get him back. So
exactly. So for me, they're both holds if you can manage it.
I think it comes down to also who's the best in that position and who are you going to. Like, whoever you're going to go to is not going to match these guys. I think Moses is potentially one that can.
Yep.
But just after a head knock and a big score, it's a bit of an awkward one with Moses at least.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's about how many Parramatta players you got. I've got 3 and I'm locking into that. I'm going to have 1 Manly player and probably 1 Newcastle player. So that'll give me 5 players that aren't going to back up on that 14 with those 3 teams being rested.
I didn't put Harry Grant on this because I feel like he's the best in the position and it's just kind of
I'm probably the one I'm more likely to have a go at selling. I just think I could get him back easier. So he's not too
he's not killing it.
Yeah, and I mean there's some games where you're like, I'm not selling. Like he changes your mind on a week-to-week basis. But yeah, I think I might be interested to sort of look for a hooker for the buy coverage.
Mikey, you look like you're...
Yeah, I agree. Me and Tim were talking about this a lot, and I kind of agree. I'd be more likely to sell Grant over the 3 we previously mentioned in Hines, Haas, and Cleary, just because you could pick up someone like Jerry Marshall-King, or there's a couple of options that, for a cheaper price point or similar price point, could probably give you the similar output. And I guess it's good that Grant's sharing minutes with Hunt over Origin, so hopefully he'll play those games. But at the same time, if I was short on a number and wanted to make a play, I believe it'd be easier to get back Harry Grant.
Jerry Marshall looks really, really good. It just doesn't look as nice in your team as Harry Grant does on paper.
Yeah. And you're not actually gaining money from that trade either because he's doing so well. But I feel like he is the guy. I've got Damien Cook as my backup, and I'm far from impressed with him at the moment. But I guess that moves us on to our best bets for the week, courtesy of Picklebet. I'll start off. My best bet of the week, Newcastle off the bye. They got smashed by Parramatta just leading up to their first bye, and I think they're going to put 13 plus at home against the Titans. Where are you going, Mikey?
I've got a bit of an interesting one that's going to have to get mashed together, but I'm all for, I like my try scorer bet, so I've got 4 anytime try scorers.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but I've won 3 out of 5, so I'm on a bit of a hot streak. So Curran, Johnston, Marzahue, and Owakalatu. So that's 2 second rows and 2 wingers. All have decent matchups. Curran's coming in for that 80-minute role against Jackson, taking Jackson forward spot. So I assume he'll get 80 minutes on that edge. So That's I know it's a bit of a risky play. I'm not going for a safe. I'm going for a little bit of a riskier play, but it's not impossible.
Jesus, he's gonna. That doesn't get up. That's gonna.
It'll be nice.
It'll be nice, but it's gonna blow our multi out the window.
Trust
What are
me.
you going?
Trust
Well,
me.
what I'm doing is I'm trying to, come back a little bit from last week. I had 2 teams on the 13 plus. Cleary let me down from the sideline. It was a big moment because I got my best mate onto that bed and his punters club, and they're all relying on me. He's talking me up, this is the bloody blessed bloke in footy. Settle down, mate, settle down. So, yeah, it was really disappointing to let them down, but I'm going a bit more conservative. I'm going Penrith head-to-head. I'm going the Sharks head-to-head. And I'm going against your bet of the Knights 13 plus and picking the Titans.
Oh, we can't put that in a multi.
We
then.
can't put it in a multi, no. So, yeah, I just feel like the boys that went over to Bali, I know they probably enjoyed their time and it might be exactly what they needed. But I know what it's like just having a big weekend, and I don't reckon I could have another big weekend after last week myself. So, look, yeah, I think the Titans looked really good last week too, so I'm going to back them to, although it is down at Newcastle's home ground, I like what I saw.
I feel the opposite. I feel like they're going to be rejuvenated. They're going to get some tattoos nice and infield. Bradman Best in particular.
Yep.
Jackson Hastings had some margaritas on the beach.
Yeah, no, it's
like
nice
nice
to
and
relax,
relaxed.
and it's good to sort of take your time off from work, and they probably had a well-earned break, but I just feel like that there might be a little bit of barley belly going on.
Barley belly. All right, but when you're using Picklebet, use a code TURBO and know what you're really gambling with. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Buy players selling before 13. Who are we selling before round 13? There are a lot on the most traded out this week. I want to lead the headline with Tyrell Sloan, 485,000, 111 break even. I want to go into a little bit of a rant here
Oh,
because
please.
I've played him 3 times for a total score of 45, and he has absolutely shit me to the wall. I know when he first got dropped for Cody Ramsey, I felt really bad for him because I just thought he has all the talent in the world. He's such a good player, but he's not getting given a go.
Yeah.
Every time I've watched him closely, have a look. When a break is being made, he makes the minimum effort. He makes enough effort to be in the vicinity, but he just gives up. He doesn't even try to tackle the player. And I just feel like it's an attitude thing, and it's a lot of things to do
Doesn't
with
fit
St.
into
George.
the culture of the Jamin Salmons, you're telling me.
It really doesn't, and I'm really considering selling him out this week. I want to save 2 trades, but I just can't have someone 485,000, 111 break even. If he scores low again,
That's a magic number, that 111. Maybe that could be an indication to hold. What have I told you about the 111?
I'm in a very tricky dilemma. They do play the Dolphins in round 13. That could be an awful matchup for them, depending on what Dolphin shows up. What are your thoughts on Tyrell Sloan?
I'm glad I'm not in the situation. It depends on the amount of buy numbers you already got. If you're going to be short and not be able to really get 13, or you'll be looking like you might struggle, only just land on 13, keep in mind that every year for SuperCoach, we always get absolutely cursed with guys that we've buy planned for, with at least like 2 or 3 of them either getting suspended, getting injured. So might be a hold depending on your side, how many numbers you got. He's just he's an up and down guy. You've got to ride that roller coaster, I think.
But being nearly 500,000,
don't play him every week, but
he could be 300k by the time
it's
round
awkward.
13 hits.
Yeah. I mean, some of those players you just hold on to, you know you're going to lose a bit of money, but if you can be patient with him and hold him a bit longer than that, he'll probably make it back as well, sell him a bit later. So, yeah.
I know you've owned Tyrell Sloan in the past, Mikey. What are your thoughts on him? Do you like him?
Well, from owning him in the past is why I didn't get him. Because that's why when everyone was bringing him in, he had that low break even, but he can score a 10 as easy as he can score an 80. And I'm like, I don't want someone like that in my team, because a position like this arrives with the predicament that Savs and a lot of coach are in, because at the same time, you bring him in at the same time, okay, make a bit of coin, but he plays around 13 buy. So if that's your intended purpose and you're selling him out, then I feel like that trade is wasted, especially getting 3 rounds of a total of 45. Like, it's hard, but I see what Savs is saying. If he continues to not score well, you're going to lose all those funds where there is that centering position at the moment. There is a lot of options. You could go down to some of these cheapies to make a bit of money, but there is also some decent like mid-range options which you could switch to. Like Alex Johnson's a really good buy this week, I think. So I understand the kind of the thought to sell, but it's a tricky one. I do think he could still score well against the Dolphins.
It's not a terrible matchup this week, and he's the type of player that you will sell, and then he'll
Yeah.
pop off and score 100 for you. So, yeah, I think you just need to trust your gut. If he's really, really doing your head and you feel like you're going to have to play more often than you won't, maybe you get rid of him. What are you thinking you're going to do?
Oh, well, I had 2 players in Marshall Miller on the bye on the weekend, so that's rare.
Force your hand, yeah.
That's rare. So I was happy. I'm leaning towards saving 2 trades at the moment, and I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Next player, Isaiah Katoa, 383,000. Got his first try on the weekend, so I think...
I like the look of him last weekend. The score won't have been massive, but I feel like he was starting to play some footy because we know he's a Penrith junior gun, and I've been all year sort of feeling like he's just been taking a little bit of a back seat, being a bit shy, and the Magic Round sort of energy just gave him a little bit of pizzazz, and I think that it might be worth at least waiting to 13 before selling him and making that decision. Have a look over the next couple of weeks, I reckon.
For sure. Mikey, Isaiah Katoa?
Yeah. Have you ever met a slow-burning halfback like this, like a slow-burning cash? Oh, it is, but like unless you're forced to really play him, it's fine. Yeah, definite hold to 13. I agree with you. If Oluwapu, whatever that Bulldogs, so if he somehow started, that was the only way I was like, okay, if he starts, gets 80 minutes, then I'll probably make the shift. But look, he showed, Isaiah Katoa showed what he could do on the weekend, and he's still been scoring okay. Like his floor's been a lot better than I thought it would be from at the start, and you know what I mean? He could turn up in round 13 and jag you a 50, 60 point. Like,
he's never had a great score yet. He wasn't really passing the eye test either, but last week I feel like there was good little glimpses of passing the eye test.
With him, actually look at his scores, and he's good for a 40, and that in round 13 is gold. You don't expect much more from him in round 13. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow is on the most traded out this week, 509,000. I find this a bit weird because
I'd be holding that one.
I think, especially having him at centre wing at the price, same price as Tyrell Sloan, just about. Like, I know who I'd rather have for round 13.
If he didn't have the buy this week, I reckon he'd be less sold. But I think that some people just see the buy and then they're like, I'm getting rid of him. A lot of people just sell their next buy player. So I think that could be a part of it as well.
It definitely is. And I think if you're holding on to him this week, you're going to be in an advantage, Mikey and me. So
he's a kind of a bit like Sloan, where he kind of, if he's not, he's a very good support runner, but that's a difference with him. But if he doesn't do that and he doesn't score a try, he's got a pretty low score and he could bleed that cash pretty quick. Where his price increased over this 500k mark because of that big out. I can see some people going, okay, bang, I can upgrade here. But like you guys, if there was a way to hold for 13, we're getting so close to 13 now. After this week, you've got a total of 5 trades without a boost. It's coming up quick, and you've got to expect injuries, people getting picked that you didn't think for Origin. So I wouldn't be offloading players like him unless I really had to.
Jackson Ford, 510,000. He's also on the most traded out list this week, and I can't believe it. He scored 44 on the weekend, getting sin-binned. He didn't come back on after he got sin-binned. I think you're crazy if you're selling Jackson Ford.
He's looking pretty good. I haven't owned him all year. There's a lot of those 40s that he was getting for a bit, but then he started to show a bit of promise. I think I convinced you to sit him one week and he scored quite well.
Yeah, 75 or something.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think he's probably a hold too. I think it's just not playing this week is also forcing people to move him on.
Who are we targeting for round 13, Mikey?
Quickly before we go to that, just on Jackson Ford, I think the main reason is the Warriors are on the bye next week, just to note. So the fact that they're on the bye, it's 2 weeks out, but I'm choosing to sell Cardi over Ford just because if he plays out round 13, by which he will, I think he has a head knock this week. The next week he's got the bye. When he comes back, he's running holes. Like he's just like on the weekend. Like if he didn't get sin bin and stayed on, he probably scores 80 again. He's killing it. Like he could be really handy in round 13. He just keeps breaking the line. So I think he'd be a handy hold. But yeah, sorry, Sabs, to your question. Players I'm targeting. So was that the question?
Yeah, no, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, I got a few of them. Guffo, I managed to get him in. Like Tim, I'm kind of looking at Lockie Miller, but as well as targeting and planning, I'm trying to kind of not buy any more Eels, Knights and Manly and more just because, both of these teams play the first two. Eels play through all three. But that 14 is going to be tricky if you're not also looking at it. Still got 2 boosts up my sleeve, so still got a bit to do. I want another second rower. I want to get one more gun second rower. I'm at 12 players with another 5 trades up my sleeve without even boosting. So I feel like I'm in an all right spot for now.
Very keen on Olakau'atu if he doesn't get picked, but I think he's probably going to get picked, right?
Or Hudson Young.
Yeah,
Those two, I really wanted Hudson Young this week, but I'm just scared. There's a small chance he could get named for the Blues. I know a lot has to go his way, but I don't want to bring in someone like that for them not to play in that round 13. Like, I'm just tunnel visioning that round at the moment.
It's a bit awkward with them two, Olakau'atu and Hudson Young. I think Olakau'atu's a certainty
Slam
just
dunk.
about.
Yeah, he's playing.
But with Hudson Young, because they're so light on the middles for New South Wales, I think there's a chance someone like Hudson Young gets picked on the left to allow Cam Murray to come off the bench to play in the middle. So I think I would hold off on these guys till round 13, but I feel like these players like Reece Walsh, Tom Trbojevic, they're kind of players that you really want to hold off till 13 to get in, and they're the high upside captain options in round 13 that you could potentially go for. But I guess that brings me on to Reece Walsh, 669,000, 89 break even. He was the most sold player last week, but a lot of people still own him. Scored 100 on the weekend and has Melbourne and Penrith in the next 2 weeks. 550K potentially in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I was on the plane not knowing what was going on. I got off and I was so scared to look at it because it was going to pretty much define my weekend because it was a very big decision for me. Do I hold or sell him, especially with the Melbourne and Penrith lineup? And opening that phone up and having a look, I just knew it was going to be a magical weekend. So, look, I'm a little bit feeling uncomfortable and awkward about the next 2 matchups. I'm okay with the Melbourne one. I think they've shown, there is some defensive issues there and you can exploit them a little. I'm not so confident he's going to score a ton, but I don't think it'll be a 30. I think it's going to be somewhere in between. It seems like for Walsh, he's either got 100 or 30s in him. So, but I think this week it's probably going to be a 60, but I'm going to sit him next week against the week after against the Panthers. But I don't reckon he's a buy. Even though he's getting cheaper, unless he's like if he plays 13, maybe. But I reckon there could be better options.
Yeah?
Yeah, I reckon there could be, but you've got a lot of them anyway, so...
there you go.
That's right.
Oh, well, there's one I want to talk about here. We will get to him shortly, but do you own Reece Walsh, Mikey? And like, if you didn't, would you be looking at him for round 13?
Oh, you made me reconsider that trade last week. I was going to get rid of him. And then I found a way instead. I got rid of Holmes, which worked out better. And he was great. He's lost a bit of cash, and even if he went down to 550K, I think I wouldn't be too worried. I picked him up for 510, so it's still a profit, and he has really helped me in the rankings with the scores and even some head-to-head matches. And I actually reckon he could score really well against Penrith because that's at Suncorp, and Penrith haven't been their best, and if they're not on their best, someone like Walsh seems to perform really well at that stadium. Look, I get what you mean. If he gets named for Origin and then he gets 2 crappy scores against Melbourne and Penrith, then you're going to really have to hold him for that one. It's going to be harder to sell him. But I'm not going to do it.
While we're on the topic of players, who lit it up at Magic Round, shout out to listener of the show, Liam Howie. Came up and said good day. Has a great form, out on the beers. So. I ended up spending the back end of the night with him and some of his mates. He got me home safely. My phone went dead. I had to write my best mate's number on my phone. I was staying at his place for the weekend. And just the communication between my new friend Liam and my best mate Greg got me home safely. Otherwise, I was probably sleeping out the front of Suncorp.
That wouldn't have been too bad.
Oh, I don't know. The bloke in full kit, looking like me with his nice legs like mine.
I think Cody Walker might be the guy. With the matchups of Tigers, Parramatta, Canberra in 13, and then Gold Coast, St George, Cowboys, he's about the same price as Dylan Brown, just about 50K more. What are your thoughts on him? I think
We want him. I think ideally it'd be great to have Dillbags and Cody Walker. They do have a pretty good draw. The Bunnies had a really rough draw all year. It's never gets easy. It's good, bad, good, bad. So they've got a kind of a bit of a rough trot, but for the most part, it's starting to get a lot better. The thing is, though, it's just that topic of Katoa. If we're going to hold on to him for 13, you know, even you're also going to hold on to Cleary and Hines, you can't.
Yeah.
leave
It's a
that
big
on.
upgrade to go Katoa to Walker as well if you're a Brown owner.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to make that happen.
I'd like to do it, but I just don't
Yeah.
know if it's
a
going to
lot of
work out
funds.
for me.
And it's important to note that he's scored a lot of tries. Like, I know he's been scoring well, but Cody Walker's scoring tries nearly every week.
But over his career, if you look back on it, I think he
does.
scores, like I don't know the stats because I'm not the stat
He
guy, but-
averages 1.5 try involvements, so that's either a try or a try assist every game. So
Yeah,
But
it's
he
all
also
like-
does have a 30 and a 40 in him, and we haven't seen too many of them this year, and I believe they might be to come when maybe, you know, Latrell and that aren't in the side come around Origin time, or he might step up. But
Yeah, I've got
they're
a
the
feeling he'll
informed
step
team. So I guess, look, I don't know if I can make it happen, but if you can somehow make a Walker and Brown work with the Hines and Cleary, like, you'd be cheering.
The reason he's more attractive, especially if we're not going to sell Nico and Hines, it's nice to have two gun 5'8s.
Yeah.
Nico and Hines, Nico and Cleary. Yeah. They're pretty much the same guy at the moment, the Supercoach
Yeah.
gods. But yeah, I think it would be ideal to stack that 5'8 if you're not going to move on either one of them.
I guess you're talking about Cody Walker not scoring enough tries. Outside him, Alex Johnston, I think he's...
I think he was talking about him scoring too many tries. I'm thinking that he...
No, I'm talking about Cody Walker scoring. He scored a lot of tries in those big scores he's
Without
had
them, it's sort of
recently. So I'm saying if they dry up, he's going to decrease in points.
No, I'm saying Alex Johnston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we get you. Yeah.
We're on the same program now.
You want Alex Johnston?
I wasn't too keen on him. I got a lot of messages about him today, and I started going to have a little look at him, and I was like, oh, the BE's probably something like, it's like 76. I was like, I
Yeah.
could probably wait a week or two. And then like, he's playing the Tigers. I was like, oh, it's a little bit juicy. But then someone else has pointed out recently, the Tigers have only had one player score over a ton this year
Against them. Wow.
but they've always been keeping them close. Like they've
Yeah,
lost a lot of
that-
games,
they
but
have.
they've been gritty, and you know, so there might be something in that.
Yeah, I guess so. Look at Garrick the other week, 30 odd against them. Dylan Brown. So if you don't have Dylan Brown like myself, he has a break even of 6, 750 break even, coming off 2 big tons. Canberra, Souths, and Cowboys in the next 3. Would you be eyeing him off, or like?
Oh, big time.
I'm thinking
I'm going to save the buy period. I don't drop the MH word, but he's a must-have.
I think I'm going to fade him.
I reckon that could be a pivotal decision purely because he plays all 3. If you have to choose between him and Walker, for me, it is like right now, if I don't have either of them and I'm picking one, I'm going to just pick Brown ahead, purely that low break even, 750K, and he plays all 3 buy rounds. Like, he's not going to get picked. Even if mass injuries happen, he can't get picked. And that's why I picked him up. I picked him up so early and when he was going average, purely thinking of the buys. But yeah, it's a big call, Sabs. I definitely think if you're not going to have Dylan Brown and you're a Munster owner, you need to have Cody Walker. You've got to have one of them. And if you want Dylan Brown, you've got to get him this week. That break even to 6. Mitchell Moses is out
Yeah,
this
that's a big
week.
decision for you.
Mitchell
What would
Moses
you
is going to
do
be
if you-
out.
How would
so-
you get him though if you're going to do it this week? You'd have to sell Munster, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't do it this week.
Even with the BE, just pay up for it if you have to be closer. You could maybe get him after round 13, after
that's
14.
That's what I'm thinking.
I reckon you can afford to. Yeah, that seems like the way to go.
No
Do
Mitchell
that.
Moses this week, boys. People like Guffo and Dylan Brown are going to step up this
Gutho
week.
goal kicking.
Beautiful.
I wonder, like you'd like to think that Brown's going to get
I
a
only
lot
just
more
thought that
ball,
now.
but I think if they're not playing so well and like without Moses there, because Moses does a lot for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's not as good as it looks on paper, but yeah, I'm hoping he still lights it up this week.
Last one, Scotty Drinks. 643,000, 100 break even. St George, Tigers and Parramatta in the next 3. St George this week with 100 break even. If I was looking at getting him in, I probably wouldn't wait.
He's the type of bloke that can break your heart, like can let you down, but he's also very exciting when he's doing his thing. I think I'd like to maybe try and get both him and Lockie Miller. If I don't get him, I'll put Lockie Miller to fullback over that period. And as I said, move Lockie Miller back to centre wings and then probably get Latrell or something in my fullback for the run home.
Yep.
But I think ideally with the amount of upside a fullback has, I'd like to plug both of them in for that period.
Mikey, Scotty Drink will be playing round 13 with Valentine Holmes out, which means he's a very tempting captain option with the goal kicking in round 13. Is he on your radar at all?
He's on my radar, but he worries me with his low scores as well. We saw that early in the year, and it depends. He might be an easy scapegoat from Walsh for my side for the Chip Jacket Mafia, but yeah, definitely on the radar. But I'd be very surprised if I do go down that route where
You got Gutho as well, so I don't have
do.
Gutho, and he's the
I've
one
got-
I think I'm going to have to fade, which
Yeah, I've
probably
got
not going to
Gutho
be
Walsh,
fantastic
so-
as well. But you can't have too many power plays, and I got Sivo, who lit it up
Sivo.
last week for me. I got the Caxton cheer and the Sivo chant there for a bit. I was watching the last game at the Caxton. Yeah, it was exciting.
Very good. All right, winners and losers from the team lists. Tohu Harris is named, played 80 minutes on the weekend, 582,000. I know you're keen on him, Mikey.
Very keen on him. Straight into my side. I like what he can do when he gets some minutes. I know the injury concerns are always there with him, but look at the games where he's played 80 minutes. That Warriors bench is looking pretty light on forwards. I believe he's going to get 80 again. Yes, he's got the bye next week, but to me, with Ford being out, getting someone like Harris will upgrade and strengthen my team for this week, and I can cover him next week. Have a week off, be fresh for the round 13 bye. I just think if you're someone that has Jules in your front row like I do, bring in Haas in my second row. If Payne Haas gets rested, I can do a bit of switching around, and then I've got Tapane and
Sammy Solo.
so I can do it with Solo, but I got Tapane and Harris that can be my backup front row. So I think thinking ahead like that, I think it strengthens my side if he stays fit. So 580, I think, if he stays fit, it's going to be the cheapest you get him. So.
I normally don't make my trades right up until the start of the first game, or until I have to if it's the second or third game. But I pulled Tohu in straight away this week. I've reversed that. I've just remembered how, he's been injured 3 times already this year. He's one of those guys that I think that really haunts people, particularly around this Origin period. I think he did it last year. He might have done it in 21 as well. So I'm going to wait right until 13. He might have to pay a little bit more for him. He's got to break even of about 40-ish, I believe. But
47, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to wait. I don't have the numbers to bring a guy in that's going to get injured. And just because he's got the history, he's a warrior by all sense of the word. He goes hard, but he's getting on a bit and he can get...
Only 6% of sides, but 4,800 are bringing him in. So he's still going to stay in pod territory, realistically.
Yeah, I think he's a great buy, but for me, just for my own mental health for SuperCoach, I'm going to wait right close to 13.
For mine, I already have 3 gun front rollers at the moment, so I'm fading at the moment. He's the kind of guy who, in round 13, when you buy him for, he'll go off with a HIA for 20 points. So I think I'm happy to fade him, but I see the appeal because he's someone you can plug in front row for the rest of the year.
And look, he's been setting your boy up, AFB. He's done it twice now, and the fact that he's just getting in on he's playing this ball roaming like yo. And with the Warriors, they're scoring some points. They got a really nice matchup this week against the Bulldogs. That's why I like the fact that he's playing 80 minutes, but also ball playing, so you can expect...
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm very reluctant to not do it, but they've just...
There's risks, but that's what SuperCoach is all about, right? So let's risk it.
Can we just talk about AFB?
Yeah, you can talk about him. I don't want to...
I talk about that trade that you did to all my SuperCoach mates, and I can't believe it. I go, this guy's got the Midas touch this
you
year.
brought him in?
He's got to try 3 out of 4 weeks. That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
3 minutes after his first sitting with the Jamin Salmons, scores a try.
I can't believe it. He's one of those where I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't really like the trade when you did, and then after you did, I'm like, genius, absolute genius.
I don't know if it's genius. I just think
Lucky.
that is very lucky. Was not doing that.
He scored a try against Penrith through the middle of the Penrith fullback with Fisher Harris. I was there going, you're kidding. You're kidding.
Yeah.
Billy Smith is named to start on that left edge, 289,000 with a -10 break even. Suoli'i is moved to the right, which stuffed up my best bet of the week last week because I was really aiming for that left edge. They did get a lot of love down that side, but Billy Smith did not capitalise on it. I think he's more of a attacking, ball-playing kind of running centre. Doesn't really score many and barnstorm over himself, but he looks all right. I think Sam Walker's the worry here.
Yeah, it seems like there's a bit of whispers in the street that he was almost going to come in for the side last week. I reckon they're going. We were talking to you, I think it was last week, you said you think he's played his last game for the Roosters. I don't know. I reckon they're going to have to get him back in. Their attack does seem to be still lacking there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that they, as much as Manu's great at his ball running. I think he can still do that. He can still play the roaming centre. So I reckon that he's been going all right in New South Wales Cup. I think they'll get him involved soon enough.
I think as someone who captained Teddy on the weekend, Manu is not the 5'8" for them. I think he kills all backline plays. Yes, he racks up really good stats.
He's an individualist.
And it's great for SuperCoach. He nearly gets through nearly every time, but there's too many. Brandon Smith stunts the attack as well. He likes to go the crash play rather than pass it out the back. It's really frustrating, and I hope they fix that.
I like seeing Billy Smith play footy, though, because the bloke's been plagued with injuries. And, any time he gets on the park's fantastic for him.
Max Fierney, 234,000, negative 28 break even. Is he the cheapie we've been looking for?
Let's throw this one to Mikey because I know he's got a very strong feeling about this one.
I wouldn't say it's a strong feeling, but to be able to, you're going to come across rounds where to make a certain move, you need to, make a little bit of money. And that's what I need to do this week to get rid of Cardi, to go to Harris. And Valance, we should bring up. He's the most traded in, something like 9,000, which is absolutely crazy. Let me shut this down. Brenko Lee is possibly going to come back. Everyone knows what Wayne Bennett's like. Just don't do it. Do it closer to 13. Everyone will bring him in closer to 13, but why risk it? Yes, he was amazing, and yes, the coach should keep him in there, but will the coach keep him in there? He might not. So I want to shut that down firstly, and if you really need a centre wing chippy this week, why not take the risks with Max Fierney? I'm doing the same. I'm bringing in for Warbrick, who, I'm going to cash out, 60 break even. I'm going to cash out, get Fierney. Lomax seems like he's out of favor. Not even named in the 21-man squad, not named at all. I reckon he'll get snagged up by another club. But not only that is, he's going to make money this week if he plays. He scored 37 in base. The week before that, he was on the wing. He got 61. Another 37 in base, and we see a 60-ish K price rise. That's good enough for me. And the potential to play round 13. The Dragons have lost 5 in a row. They've lost them all by under 6 points. 6 or under, sorry. Maybe they can get one back this week, and I'm hoping they do, because if they do, then Fierney might keep his spot for a little longer. But it's good to see both the brothers out there for the Dragons. And, I don't think he's a bad cheapie,
because it does look really attractive, the price. And I was thinking, once you start talking about him on the right here, I was thinking, I think that's maybe how I free up some cash to make some other things happen for my side. I just don't love it. I just don't see the upside there, and I don't want to bring in too many guys that are going to, score me 40s, but the idea that he is going to make a little bit of cash
and
that
possibly
he is so
play
cheap,
13 is another number. Could score on the round 13 and then bang.
One I'm going to have to sleep on for sure. I'm not too sure. Where are you at with him?
Tyrell Sloan to him is very tempting.
A lot of money to
but
bank.
Him and Tyrell Sloan are the kind of guys that in round 13, you make it all the way there, and then they haven't won a game since then, and they get dropped. I feel like these two are prime position to do that. So I'm not going to waste a trade on someone who might play round 13 to someone who might play round 13. I want a definite person that's playing round 13. If Valance was named this week,
he's got the bye, but
but if he was named ahead of Brenko,
right?
Yeah. But I think it's kind of good that it lines up. The Valance Tafari is actually, his third game will be in round 13.
Yeah.
So
Perfect option for round 13.
That's when you downgrade and you upgrade in two other places.
He looked really good.
He looked good. Looked
Yeah,
like
he's
he
a
needed
bigger
to.
boy. Yeah, that's fine. But he was ripping.
Come on, what a debut!
That first
What a
try
debut.
scored was ridiculous, and he's a cult hero. He did the hucker on the sideline. It was beautiful.
The energy at that stadium with him scoring that, what was that like?
Oh, it was mental. Everyone was like,
that would have been awesome to see live.
This bloke, you know what I mean? A lot of people who didn't know who he was, and
That first try was awesome.
he's come from nowhere.
He hasn't. He's been
Come
in the
from
works for
Union,
about
yeah.
a year, but
He's only been playing footy for about
Yeah,
a year. So.
he-
Pretty quick
um,
transition.
he's actually playing on his non-preferred side on the right, and the fact that he can do that on the right, he's
very
usually
fast for a big boy.
usually
I reckon
a
he'd beat me over the
And his
30
footwork
metres,
and
for
just
sure.
that fan, how are you going to stop this guy by yourself? You can't.
I think
I'd fold him though if he run it straight. Like, he wants to run it straight at me. I'd fold him.
I think with the Dolphins, it's probably an attacking difference that they can go with. Brenko Lee, he's done an all right job, but I think it's time.
Well,
Valance
if
time.
Aiken he's got a potential injury for scans. I'm not sure if that got cleared, but if for some reason that he did get confirmed and he was out for a little bit, then I could see the appeal of going balance this week if you needed to free up cash rather than Max from the Dragons. That's the only way I do, because then you go, okay, Branko's going to come back, and Valance will keep that other spot.
I think if you really wanted to take the risk and you're not into Max for your guy for whatever reason, for you just think that he's got job security issues as well, you could do it if you don't have too many nuffs already. If he turns into a nuffer and you've got one nuff, that's fine. But if you're carrying like a Jack Howarth or a couple of guys in the front row that that aren't really doing anything, then that can be a bit awkward.
I like it. You did mention before the Newcastle players. You want to target Lockie Miller.
Yep.
They're winners this week. They're back. They're back from the bye. Miller and Marju, very popular players. Miller.
Maybe I'll look at him this week. I just thought, what's his BE? I was hoping to get him to drop a little bit after those.
I think it's 74.
That's not worth. Yeah, I think I might potentially look at him a bit closer.
Yeah.
I had him for the
79.
first 2 rounds, scored me 50s. I sold him and then he just killed it. And I've had to watch you. I sold him the week you bought him. And,
Same here.
Yeah, so I've just had to watch you enjoy him, which is really annoying. So I want to get him back. I like his little. He's got the Teddy palm, and he's. His defence is a bit awkward at times, especially.
Oh, the Olaquatu one.
Yeah, but he's great for SuperCoach.
He's very good for SuperCoach. So we're going to go into our favourite SuperCoach moments of all time. I'm going to start with you, Timmy, because I'm very interested to hear your one.
Okay, yeah, so I had to think about what gave me the most pleasure. And it was round 24, 2021. It was the Panthers-Tigers game, and it was Kickout's performance. He was throwing people off left, right, and centre. It was just went into absolute beast mode. He scores a beautiful try off a line break that he was just steaming onto from the back fence when Cleary's just sort of skims across the side, and he steps to fullback without the fullback even touching him. He almost scores another try, except that it just knocks on. He also, in this game, makes this massive 4-person tackle bust as he's falling to the ground, gives an offload out to Matty Burton. Matty Burton goes flying through and they just hold him up. The bloke managed to score 121 points in that game. It could have been a zillion, but in that week, in that time, I knew I was going to win SuperCoach. Everyone else was going off for me. Bloody Utakamano scored 80 in that game. He scored more than Payne Haas. And I cried during that game. It was very, very special for me.
That's quite a story, isn't it? Mikey, what is your favourite SuperCoach moment of all time?
I've got nothing to top that, but I'm going to be boring with, Jake mentioned it last week, but as a Penrith fan, the Nathan Cleary, especially if you had the armband on him, Magic Round last year, the big 225, I won't really top too much on it, but not my most memorable, but a memorable one to me. It might not sound crazy to other people, but you'll like this one, Sabs. Brought in Luke Garner last year at absolute bottom dollar at 300k, and I was so umming and ahhing it.
By the way, really hated it.
A lot of people hated it, and it was a 1% move, and I did a weird move to get him in, and I just had this feeling about him, like something inside me, it was just a weird feeling, and we go and we watch the game, I did it, and he scored in the first 2 minutes, and I just remember the reaction of me and you, we were talking, and we were just wooing in the messenger, and it was just an awesome moment, because it was like, for once, I don't know what kind of gut feeling, it was a gut feeling, and I took it, and I had it, and yeah, it was like 1% owned. No one really had him, and he started to make a bit of money off the back of it. But it just felt really good, the whole
to trust
scenario.
your gut and it actually
and
through,
how we reacted afterwards and the way you reacted. So it was just like winning something when I really didn't win nothing. But to me, that was a memorable moment that I always remember.
I remember that very closely. I was sitting at the bottom of Panthers with my daughter. She was still very young, so I was able just to let her sit there while I watch the footy, had a few drinks.
Left her in the car for a bit.
And yeah, I was watching that, and the minute he went over, I was just so excited because you were tossing up between it, and I didn't like it, but I kind of worded it in a way to you, trust your gut, you're really convincing me on this, for your side, right. And yeah, it was very good, and he went to kill it for 3 or 4 weeks for you.
Yeah, it was a good. It ended up being a good trade, but it was just it wasn't maybe the crazy thing, but because it was recent, I just remember that joyful moment of just when you cross the line.
You enjoy it more when other people doubt you too.
Yeah, and then the fact, but then everyone come together after. It was nice.
What about yours, brother?
Well, mine is actually 2015. I'll never forget this. I was living in
I wasn't even playing SuperCoach that year.
I was living in a share house with a few mates, a few of our good mates, Mikey, and Sean Johnson was playing the Titans 3 p.m. game, round 15 in 2015. 153, classic Sean Johnson, stepping every bloke through the middle of the field, kicking goals, setting up tries, and I captained him as well. So I just remember every time he played the Titans, I would never not put the captaincy on him. So that is my all-time favourite SuperCoach memory.
Good to see him back too.
Yeah, not long after that, Jared Haynes scored 5 tons in a row that year. He went on an absolute run that year. And number 3 for me, Jack Reed.
Oh, we get 3, do we?
Oh, well,
Look at Sav's having
I just wanted to mention these. Jack Reed's 3 tons in a row. I forget what year it was, but that was such a good... one of our mates got him in.
Yeah, and he was not a SuperCoach purchase. Like, everyone getting him in, we basically on the show were going, no, do not do that. And it turns out that if you did that, it was like the ultimate pod because nobody was grabbing him after these tons, eh?
Yeah. That's why you got to trust yourself. You know, you can listen to as many pods and people will be all on the same thing or having their, really firm opinions. If you like something, do it.
All right, let's get into trade talk, lads. We didn't go through it last week, but we'll go through it this week. Firstly, what did you score on the weekend?
Oh, it was a lot. 1384. I was up in the top 200 for the scores. I've gone from about 3,000th into 1,100th, so sniffing on the heels of you boys. Stoked. Massive week to do it in Magic Round 2. So, yeah, very, very happy. Trades this week. Ooh, I'm all over the place still at the moment. I was going to do Tohu, and I said now I'm off that. I could end up still doing that, but I think I really do want to wait to round 13 just in case, because my gut says, the injury could happen. I'm going to know about Max Fee Guy to free up cash. I'm still not sure about that one either. That's something I need to look at it very closer. Lockie Miller is either this week or next week for me. So if I can only do one trade, I'd be really happy with that. But I need to I think I've got 8 at the moment. Which will give me 5 in the next 2 weeks, which will still get me to 13, but it'll make it awkward if I have any issues. So maybe making 2 might be a safer play. But I was saying to Mikey, I don't mind if I actually have 12. I am more head-to-head focused. So if I can have 12 really good players, as opposed to 13 or 14, with 3 or 4 of them that are more likely to get 40s, as long as I think these guys are more likely to get 80s to 100, and there's 12 of them, I don't mind that.
A lot of words there.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I'll spit
Mikey, what are you looking at this week?
Well, after 4, I think it was 4 horrible rounds in a row, but I was at 700th, and I've just kept going slowly down the stairs. Like actually watching everyone else just go up. But now back into the top 2,000s, 1,700, and that puts all 5 SuperCoach Experience members in the top.
Beating Mikey for the first time this year.
But that puts all 5 of us in the top 2,000, which
is
I think
crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Last year the 5 of us did pretty good, or the 4 of us did pretty good. And yeah, Ryan's absolutely had a massive week too. Shout out to him. But 1306 for the Captain Hines. Very, very happy. Big job. 1,679 to be exact was the jump I had, and I already revealed my trades. I'm going Cardi to Harris. And I am, doing the Warbrick to Figo. And I've got the luxury of selling a buy to a buy because I'm sitting at 12 right now. And although Cardi scored 49 in 50 minutes, I'm worried if his minutes are going to continue like that. And he got like 12 points in offloads.
I really like those trades. I think they sound really good.
Yeah, I've saved a bit of 4 trades total, got a few boosts up my sleeve. So I think this is another good week to save, like what you were thinking, Sabs. I've also got to try and keep my rank going up. I would love to get into the top 1,000 right before the buys because I'm feeling pretty confident for buy time.
Just keep in mind that it's better to be in the top 1,000 after the buys.
Yeah, I've got to try and rank up fast now before I go to Europe because it's going to be a lot harder to contain my rank in Europe, but I'll find a way to manage.
You did mention Had's had a massive 1370 odd score or something. He's up to 380th. Jake, Captain Nathan Cleary. I don't know where that come from, but that was a good move.
Especially when he had Nico as his best bet to score a try in the Sharks 13+. So to go against that, that's
his
massive.
Team, that's balls. We're Penrith for them. I didn't even consider doing that.
Yeah,
Massive.
I slightly considered it just because I was fading Hines, but I don't know. I think just because I had in my mind Tedesco was going to score, I would have hated myself if he popped off. And
I really thought Hines was a smart VC, just in case he did go massive. Then you got the insurance of looping him. But yeah, I think for me, the final decision why I wasn't thinking he was a captain was that 900th game for Wayne Bennett. They were always going to at least lift and put up a good performance, but they killed it.
Yeah, and you tweeted.
Fins up.
You tweeted about it too, and a lot of people
were
were
off it.
against it. Yeah. But I feel like when something's in the water, just explore a little bit further. I scored 1165 on the weekend, went down from 201 to 321. Pretty happy with that. Saved 2 trades. I expected a hit. Tyrell Sloan, Sinir Taruva. He's not a winger.
Save 2 trades. If you don't know Sabs, I think that's incredible for Sabs.
Yeah,
You struggle to save trades early, and
I'd love to see Tyrell back on the left. Just while I was watching the highlights of some of the 2001 stuff just tonight, and geez, Lua was so good. Just sort of, they're just like they were in sync, and he just loved hitting him. I'd like to see him back on the left.
I think Taruva's he's a good yardage person, but I don't think he has that barnstorm. Like he can't just barge over the line.
He dropped one over the line, but
he's bombed.
He keeps on.
Yeah, I know.
He keeps on getting on the outside, and that just makes you think with his break even, like it's gonna come, and you're gonna sell him, and it's gonna.
Yeah, I think he'll be a popular sell eventually, and then he'll start lighting it up because he's gonna have to.
He's gonna score tries, bro. 2 tries without a line break yet. That line break try's coming.
If they swap sides, I think that would be the play for Penrith. I like it, but I'm saving trades this week. I don't think I'm back.
Unbelievable.
And as you said before, this is so unlike me.
But it's for me on those seasons where you went crazy, like example last year. It was the one thing you were missing was some trades at the back end to help you out. And yeah, I can't. Yeah, I'm very shocked if imagine to say 4.
If
that's
you
great.
can hold on to those trades, I'm still probably going to make this surprise for you next week. I've got a surprise for Savage, but then I'm also got a surprise for a lucky viewer. We'll probably do the prize next week. We'll bring it in. It's going to be a matching prize. I'm also getting one.
Oh.
Yep.
Prize for yourself.
Yeah. Look, I had to get them in a bulk of 3. They wouldn't give me just 1 or 2. So, I won't tell you because you're never going to guess it. You probably will if you keep going. I know it.
Anyway, I'm saving trades. I'm pretty happy with my top 17 this week, so happy to go ahead with it. And as I said, 5 trades before round 13 saved. Unheard of for me. I have used all my boosts though, so I still have 26 trades left, but I can't use them trades. Unlike everyone else, they can still use them. So pretty happy with where I'm sitting at the moment. Captains, Hines for me.
Geez, I'd have to look at the matchups real quick. This is not something I've considered this early. I barely had to look at team lists before I got to drive in here. So just go to Mikey and I'll come back to you.
Every week it's your captain options are always centered around Hines going, is this the week where you can fade him? And unfortunately, this is a week where you can't loop VC him. So I feel like this is a tough week not to fade him because Manly were very poor. Yeah, they're back at home, but if they're very poor again, I think Hines, he wants that Blues jumper. He wants to start. He wants to get in there. So is this a bounce back week for him?
It has to be.
I've got it on him, but a part of me is going Guffo. Like it's Guffo just in my ear going, I would have scored 90 on the weekend if I didn't get Simbin. I'm going to kick the goals. Mitchell Moses in and out, so...
You could VC Gutho.
Which is probably what I will do at this stage. I've got it as VC Gutho. It's just VC Gutho would mean that I would have to miss out on, I think it was like someone like Marzi Hugh out of my side would be the only person. But that's the only way I can do it. And to me, it's a bit of a pod VC.
I like it. Every time Moses has been out of the side, Gutho's always stepped it up with the try assists, especially.
Origin
the goal kicking is added, but he always just takes that extra step.
Tough
further.
matchup against an informed Canberra at GIO, but so that's kind of what might make me not straight see him. But I guess because Hines plays so late in the round, you could decide after the Saturday where your head's at. Or after the first 4 games, work out, okay, my players are scoring really well, I can afford to risk it, or I need to play it safe with Hines.
Yeah, so I'm landing on Hines, just looking at the matchups. Nothing else really stands out. So that's going to be my captain, unless I loop a VC, and none of them are standing out either at the moment. Broncos have got a bit of an awkward matchup with the Storm. I don't think Walshy's got a big enough score that's loopable. It seems like he's capped at about 100. So, yeah, looking at that, I won't be able to do anything with Nath, obviously, because if I'm going to captain Hines, I won't be able to use Cleary. I don't really have any bunnies, and that matchup looks okay. I don't really have a VC unless I was to go Dylan Brown or something. There's no one else that's really jumping out at me.
Well, my VC is Valentine Holmes against St George back at home. I think Valentine Holmes is in for a big few weeks, and Nico Hines, just lock it in. Don't be cute this week. He's going to bounce back.
Yeah.
All right. We done and dusted?
Oh, I'm dusted.
All right.
I'll tell you that much.
Very dusty from Magic Round
Oh,
weekend. Yeah. Cheers, guys, for tuning in for another episode of the SuperCoach Experience. Good luck with your SuperCoach this week, and we'll see you next week.